Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the official International Brotherhood of Magicians podcast. My name's Jason Michaels. I'm joined by my co-hosts Ben Young and Scott Cantrell, and we have a special guest here today joining us right from the get-go, Mark Brown. How you doing, guys?
Hello.
Don't do that thing where you pause and wait 3 seconds of dead air on me like you did the other day. How are you, Ben? I'll just address each one of you separately.
I'm good. I'm happy to be here.
I bet you are. We'll get in more into that about why you're happy to be here, and that's actually part of the reason for doing this today's subject for today's podcast. Scott, how are you?
I'm good, man. I haven't personally chatted with any of you since the experience that you guys had that we are going to talk about today.
Yep.
So this is all going to be fresh. I'm excited to ask questions and learn along with our listeners.
Yep. And we're changing things up today. Usually I kind of like lead with in the interview sessions. Today Scott's going to lead the interview session because the interview today, I'm going to introduce Mark in a second. But let me just kind of tell everybody kind of what's going to happen. So to lay this out, Mark Brown, Ben Young, and myself, we were recently on a tour, and we were touring with a group called Armed Forces Entertainment, and they send, of which Scott has been on these tours as well. In the past, and they send teams. They send different types of entertainers. Specifically, they sent a team of magicians to military bases, and the military bases they sent us to were in the Middle East, and we had some pretty wild experience, especially with everything that is going on over there right now. And so we're going to kind of dive into what happens when a magic tour goes to the Middle East and then a war breaks out. So that's the topic of today's podcast. And let me bring into the podcast and introduce our friend and fellow tour mate, Mark Brown. Hello, Mark.
Hello, long-time listener, first-time guest. Glad to be here.
Well, I'm glad that we're getting some listeners. We're gonna have to get more listeners.
Mark is our listener.
Oh, he's the one. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm glad to hear it.
I like that we've been around long enough that someone can say long-time listener.
Long.
That's true. It's true. Everything's relative, Ben.
It is true. Hey, before we dive in, real quickly, this drops July. I think this podcast episode is going to drop July 1st. We're recording about a week ahead of time. Just so let me say that at first. We're recording about a week ahead of time. So the things that we're talking about today, who knows what is in the news today is obviously going to be about a week old, the things we're talking about. So when you hear this, if things have really ramped up in that part of the world with the Middle East and whatnot, then hopefully we won't sound like we're complete idiots because just because of the delay. But like I said, when the podcast drops, we're going to have about a week before the I.B.M. convention lands. And the I.B.M. convention, hey, I am looking right now at the talent list for the I.B.M. convention. Let me tell you something, folks. It is not too late to go to the I.B.M. convention in Houston, Texas. It's at the Royal Sonesta. I've been there. It is an awesome hotel. And some of the talent that we've got, we just announced that we've got the spellbinder, Walter King Jr., who is going to be appearing at the convention. And Spellbinder, let me tell you, I saw Spellbinder do a set at the Chicago Magic Lounge, and when they introduced him as the Spellbinder, I was like, what in the crap is this gonna be? I literally was like, you gotta be kidding me. So, but then he walked out on stage, and within about 30 seconds, I was like, hello, who is this guy? And how come I never heard of this guy before? Walter King Jr. is the guy who had a viral video because he was in somebody's living room doing a birthday party, and he made two doves magically appear out of nowhere. And
that's a great video.
It's unbelievable.
So good.
I want him to come to my next birthday party. So it's unbelievable. The guy, let me tell you something. The guy is an unbelievable entertainer. I can say that because I've seen him work. Other folks appearing at the convention, Marcus Eddy, Liz Tunkel, I hope I just said it right, the street performer Babel from France. Javi Benitez is going to be there. I mean, The list is crazy. Some names you may not know, but a lot of names you will know. Diego Vargas is going to be there. Danny Orleans is doing going to be. I'm so excited about Danny's lecture on corporate magic. I think it's going to be off the charts. Sean Ray Vaughan Wilson, Giacomo Bigliardi, Gaia Elisa Rossi. Look, I mean Zabrecki, Dan Sperry. The list goes crazy. If you can make it, I know it right at this point. If you haven't made your decision, it's a last minute decision, but if you can swing it, if you can get to Houston, you want to be there. It's going to be a massive convention. If you want more details on it, ibmconvention.com. That is ibmconvention.com. Scott, you're going, aren't you?
I will absolutely be there. I have stuff to do and lectures to listen to and shows to watch.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You're going to
That's
be there,
awesome.
right, Jason?
Huh? When,
You're going to be
what?
there?
Who's that? Yeah, I'll be
IBM
there. I'll be there. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a good time. All right. So let's get into today's interview. What happens when war breaks out and a team of magicians are in the Middle East? So,
All right.
Scott,
Yeah,
off you go. You're in charge.
I get to captain this ship just for a moment, right? Okay, so I I have prepped some questions, but I want to keep it really conversational, and it will be an interview, but I know all you guys, so we'll keep it pretty casual. So tell us about the setup. Like, when did you guys leave? You don't have to do like specific dates, but when did you guys leave? Where did you, if you can talk about where you were, maybe you can't, that's totally cool. But if you can talk about where you landed or how you got there, and kind of what again, if you can't talk about specifics, just best you can, where were you going? And what was the plan? Let me ask this way. What was the plan for the tour? How was the
So it's
tour
in, yeah.
supposed to go?
So these tours are planned out, somewhere between 4 and 6 months in advance. There are a whole lot of things that have to happen when putting together a tour like this. Number one, the team has to be assembled. Number two, it has to be
Avengers. I'm sorry.
Nice, nice. And it's what the difficulty about putting together a team of really good entertainers is that these tours are usually anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks long, and to get people who, to get really good entertainers is difficult because really good entertainers usually have calendars that are booked. And so to get somebody to commit, and I've talked to a lot of people, I am the one who puts these specific tours together. Um, and a lot of people have wanted to go, but just have been unable. I mean, and it's happened to all of us. Ben, you've been unable to go. Scott, you've been unable to go before. I mean, it's happened to us all where it's just like the dates don't work. So the team that I was able to put together this time consisted of Ben. Ben was, and each magician has, the goal is to try to create about a 90-minute long show. Each performer, it's usually 3 acts, and the 3 acts each do somewhere around the 30-minute mark. And Ben was going to do what he does, which is comedy and magic. And then I was going to do what I do, which within the military community, I'm kind of known as the sleight of hand guy doing sleight of hand magic and whatnot. And then Mark, we got Mark, and Mark is doing mental magic and mentalism. And so we got these guys that we were able to work out the dates. And when you're putting something like this together, there are a lot of pieces. I mean, there are a lot of pieces that go together. And I've been doing this now. I've been putting these tours together for about 10 years, and there's pieces that I still don't know quite how they pull all this off. But there's all the bases have to approve. There's background checks that have to be done. There's a lot of different things that go into it. But we got this team together. It was a great team because the styles were so different. Each person's style. It was, what's beautiful is that, during one section they're going to laugh, another section they're going to have their mind blown away, and it's just this nice flavor of a show. And so I just tell you all of that to say that we were scheduled to fly to the Middle East, and we were scheduled to go to perform a series of 10 shows in 7 different countries. And we flew over on the 5th, flew over on June 5th, and we, so we got to our first destination. and then we went to our second destination. Some of the countries that we were scheduled to go to were Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait. Let's see here, Djibouti. There's a bunch of different countries that we were scheduled to go to, and we were able to do our first. We went to our first country, then we went to our second country, and then we went to our third country. The third country that we ended up in was in Saudi Arabia, and by this point we had done four shows, and we were scheduled to do our fifth, and
Wow.
we land in Riyadh, and that's kind of when things started getting interesting. When it's like, okay, some things are happening here.
I was going to ask about this question specifically. So, roughly how many days into the tour? How long was the tour supposed to be? 18 days, 21 days? I can't remember.
It was supposed to be 18 days.
18 days.
Yeah.
And you land in Riyadh day 5, day 6,
I
something
think
like
it
that.
was day 8.
Day 8. So you had some time. Okay.
Yeah, because there were some travel days
Right.
throughout and such. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had
So-
travel days. There were one country that we were in. We performed 3 different shows at 3 different
Gotcha.
bases. So
Gotcha.
we had hit our groove. Like our show
Yeah.
was popping. It was really happening, and the team was doing great stuff. We were doing, and we should probably get into like what happens on
Yeah.
a base when we're doing a show, because the meet and greets and all that stuff. But I'll, like I
Yeah,
said,
we'll circle back. So your day 8, you land in Saudi Arabia, roughly halfway through the tour, like you said, Jason. You do, you do the first couple of shows. It's not rust, it's just getting used to the flow of the show, right? With 3 different acts and performers. And so you guys had hit that groove. The question I was going to ask is what was the initial experience like when you started to feel like, maybe something's going on here? What was the indication? Did an army captain come to you and say, "Hey, look, just want to let you know"? But how did you come to find out that there may be something, a little bit amiss that might cause a problem?
why don't Ben,
Yeah.
since you've been on a tour
Mark or Ben.
before, you tell me if there was anything specifically that, because I'll tell you what, because I was the one that a lot of people were communicating with.
Sure.
So I
Yeah.
want them to be like, well, this was I realized this was different from the rest.
Yeah, so we arrive in Saudi Arabia and we get out of the airport. We get into the van of our points of contact. They're going to take us over to the base. And we're in the van for, I don't know, about 30 seconds. And they say, "Hey, Jason, the base is on lockdown. And so you guys are going to need to like get a hotel to stay in." And so that was my first inclination. And I've been to the base there before, and I know that we normally stay on base. And so for us to not be able to get on, something is definitely up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that would definitely be a clue. Yes, when a military base goes on lockdown, something is happening.
Yeah, I mean, really, what it means is they have some intelligence, whether
Yeah.
the rest of the world knows anything or not. But they have some intelligence that something is happening, and they're trying to be vigilant.
And
So,
they don't want civilians
right.
to be there.
Yeah, they don't. Basically, at the end of the day, they don't want people who aren't in the military to be in additional harm's way. And that's what, when they said you're going to have to get your own hotel. I mean, really, what they were saying was, we don't want you to be in a position where you're in a heightened. We have basically they're saying we have our assessment level has been raised. Our danger level has been raised, and we don't want you to be in excess danger.
Yep. Before we go to the next step, I want to pull Mark in. So, Mark, this was your first Armed Forces entertainment tour, correct?
Yes, first time.
And so obviously now you're a seasoned pro at this point. You travel a lot, you do magic all over the place. You've been in your fair share of outstanding kinds of locations. Like, I couldn't ask for a better venue. You've played venues. It's like, why am I even here? Like, how do I even do magic here? And
Yeah.
so what going in, obviously, I'm sure Jason had managed your expectations quite a bit, but I remember my first AFE tour was also in the Middle East. And there was nothing going on in the world. I mean, there's always things going on in the world, but nothing of the level of consequence that we're talking about here. Um, and obviously that hadn't happened when you guys, took off and landed in the Middle East. But talk about your experience leading up to were there nerves? Did you have a little bit of uncertainty? How did you feel about the whole, I'm sure you were excited, but tell us about your experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of excitement and questions going into it. Had a couple almost interesting experiences. At our first base, they asked, for the show outside if we needed something to keep our props from blowing away. And it was, I think, 116 outside. And
Whoa.
I thought, I don't remember this being an outdoor show. And as we talked to them, eventually they moved it inside. So we didn't have to do that. That was almost
Wow.
an interesting, but definitely would have been my first time performing outdoors in 116 degrees.
Yeah.
But no, I knew going into it, they had expressed that the audiences were ready for entertainment.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I realized how ready everyone was. They were just the most fun audiences to be with, both before, during, and after the shows.
Yeah.
And so very appreciative, more so than I was expecting. And then yeah, the shows that we got to do were just the rooms were great, the audiences were great, and the show that I was on, the other performers made it great to be a part of. So.
Hey,
That's awesome.
I just want to ask you, Mark, because I think until you visit that part of the world, we don't necessarily know what it's like. And we have some picture in our heads as to what we're getting ready to fly into. It's like, what's it going to be there? And then we find out it's these huge metropolitan cities that we're flying into. Did you have any expectation as to what it was going to be like, that you were like, oh my gosh, this is just like any other major city?
Yeah, I'd say a little bit of both, because I think even where some of the bases are, you experience both the busy city with some of the craziest driving I've ever been in.
That's the
My
truth.
my goodness, was I yeah, hoping for the best. And then also you go out where you're going to these bases and you look out and there's 27 camels just chilling, and it's an interesting experience. But yeah, definitely at times it was different than what I expected, due to the fact that I didn't know exactly what to expect.
Yeah. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the first time that I did it, and you're going on these bases, and there's just like a lot of concrete and a lot of rebar,
Yeah.
and sometimes depending on the base, sometimes there are structures, but a lot of times there's just tents, and it's just a bunch of dust everywhere, and you're like, I've got dust all over me. So I do know that that's quite, when you're in these types of settings, it's quite just an awakening. You're just seeing something that maybe you had a picture of in your mind, but now you're like, so it's one of those things where you watch these movies that they film about, these different things that happen in that part of the world, and then the movie shows, up on a military base, and you're like, and then you're on a military base over there, you're like, this looks strangely a lot like that movie I watched.
Go
It's
figure.
strangely accurate.
Yeah. And you guys are, I mean, just drive the point home here. The Middle East in summer, right? In
Yeah.
June. And
Yeah.
Jason, when I was with you and we were in the Middle East, I think it was May. So maybe not quite as hot as June, but I remember, we were at the bases and they were like, pay attention to what color the flags are. Because based on, aside from the United States flag, I'm talking about, like the base flags and stuff, pay attention to what color there is. A black flag means it is the hottest it is going to get. It is like dangerously hot. I assume you guys probably had some black flags on some of those bases. I mean, Mark, just from you talking about the experience of potentially doing an outside show in 116-degree weather, but it's a dry heat.
It's an oven.
Yeah.
The I remember the first time that I was in that part of the world where you go to the latrine, and they have a chart up that shows that, if your pee is this color, you need to drink more water. If your pee is this color, you're already dehydrated. And
Go to
it's
the
that,
doctor.
yeah, it's
Go
like,
get an IV.
wow, they're pretty serious about their hydration over here, but they have to be.
They have to be.
They have to be. And that was something that, when we were prepping for the tour, I was talking to Mark, kind of giving him a heads up of different things. And he was talking about, do I need to bring a water bottle? And I'm like, there's going to be so much water accessible because I mean, they literally there's pallets of bottled water just all over the place because they want people to be able to stay hydrated all the time. Really quick, I remember my first tour in that part of the world. And before that, I had only done tours where the bases we were going to were basically like small cities. They were extremely built up, very developed.
Yep.
And then it took me on one of these, and Jason didn't give me any heads up at all. And then all of a sudden I'm just in a completely different place. I've gotten like 3 vaccinations. I'm given a bag of malaria pills when we show up. And, I'm like standing outside of a tent, and he's like, welcome to Armed Forces Entertainment. You're doing it, man. Like, you're doing a tour now.
I always tell people that if they've done the other ones, the nice ones where they're these beautiful, like amazing, bases that are totally in the middle of civilization, that they haven't done a real one until they've gone into the desert. Yeah. Into what they call the sandbox.
Yeah. That's funny.
A lot of sand.
So, okay. So let's go back then. So you've been on tour now for a little over a week. The shows are going great. Mark, I'll just echo what you said because it was one of the things that I was um, surprised by when I did the shows. It's how appreciative the audiences are. I mean, goodness gracious, these are our servicemen and women. I knew they would be respectful. I knew they'd be appreciative. I knew they'd be good audiences because they're good people, right? Just in the environment in which they're in. I was not prepared for the gratitude and the appreciation and the kindness. It's like, we should be acting that way to you and you're acting this way to us. It felt awkward in some ways, not in a negative way, an incredibly positive way. But that was something I was also very surprised by. Jason had even mentioned these are the best audiences on the planet. But I didn't really have that experience until after we did the first couple of shows and was like, this is amazing. So you're in Riyadh now and the base is on lockdown. And Jason, you just pick up the phone, call the Holiday Inn Express. What was that like? How did that go?
So, so basically they say you need to contact your point of contact with Armed Forces Entertainment. Because the base is on lockdown. You're gonna have to get a hotel. I'm like, okay. I text him, or I talk to my guy, and he says, hey, you can get a hotel. You can get a hotel right there where you are in Riyadh, or you can get a hotel closer to the base in a city called Al Kharj. And I was thinking to myself, okay, well, at this point, you have to understand, we've been doing shows. We're fully expecting to do shows. Now,
Right.
they're telling us that their threat assessment has gone up and their base is on lockdown, which means they're not letting people on and off. But they also say, hey, we have a meeting first thing in the morning. We're going to figure out what we're doing about the show. So in my mind, and just for the record, where the base is versus where Riyadh is about somewhere between a 90-minute and a 2-hour drive. And I'm thinking to myself, these folks just drove almost 2 hours to pick us up. If I get a hotel that is 5 minutes away from the airport, that is going to suck. Like, then they got to drive 2 hours back to it's like, and then the next day when we're doing our show, they're going to have to drive 2 hours to pick us up and 2 hours back. And I'm just thinking to myself, that would be so inconsiderate. That's what I'm thinking of. So, and so I'm like,
you're a very kind person.
Yeah. I'm just like, no, we'll be fine. We'll just get a hotel in Al Kharj. And now the next thing I'm thinking to myself is, I wonder if it's going to be hard to get a hotel in Al Kharj. So like I go on my phone and I start looking up hotels and things. I tell you what pops up, like TripAdvisor pops up and like these similar websites. And they're like, and you can look at the photographs and you can look at their ratings and you can read the reviews. And I'm like, it's very helpful. And so I make
Today's episode sponsored by TripAdvisor.
So I make a reservation. I make a reservation at a very highly recommended hotel with it. Look, the photos look great. I'm just like, okay. So we roll, you know, whatever, 90 minutes to where we're going. We pick up some food. At this point, you have to understand the stress level. My stress level is a little bit high because by the time we get there, after landing in the airport and getting our luggage and going through just the whole process, by the time we get there, it's close to 11 o'clock at night.
Wow.
So,
I was going to ask what time this was. So
yeah.
you must have landed in Riyadh later in the afternoon.
Yeah, we landed there at like 8:30 or something.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then
Okay.
had to get bags and stuff like that. And so, you know, it's like, okay, it should be fine. But, you know, there's a little side of me that's just like, God, if there's any problem with this hotel, it's going to be hard to find a hotel because, you know, I'm going to look again on my phone. And if it's past midnight, it's going to be showing me hotel rooms for tomorrow.
Right.
And I'm
Right.
trying to find hotel rooms for tonight.
Yeah.
You see what I'm
Great
saying?
point. Yep.
So, anyway, they take us to the hotel. And we're like, we go in, and when we get there, I don't know, what did you guys think? I thought, man, this hotel looks sweet. Like, I was like, this hotel looks nice. And then I walked in the lobby and I was like, this hotel is rocking. Like, it's a very nice look. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, when I saw the free date selection, I knew I was in a safe.
I was just gonna say the same thing.
Date the fruit, date the fruit, the snack.
Yeah, date the fruit. Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. They had these lovely, like, two bowls of two different kinds of dates that were out.
Wow.
You know, just it was very welcoming. Like, we're like, okay, like this is great. This is gonna be wonderful. And then
So I go up and I go up to the whatever the hotel check-in desk and you know, I get it. We're in kind of a secondary city. This isn't like the capital city of Saudi Arabia. And so like I'm trying to talk to the guy and he doesn't really speak English and I don't really speak Arabic. And so we're just trying to communicate and so basically what he communicates to me is that he has our reservation, but the credit card machine is broken. So he cannot take our reservation with credit card. And he's like, so he basically then communicates to me, you have to pay cash. And I'm thinking to myself, that's not a problem. I brought a ton of cash because, you know, I want to be prepared for weird things like this. And I say, you take dollars. He's like, nope. I'm like, crap. So
what is their currency?
SAR. Oh, you know what? SAR. I don't. Saudi Arabian Royal. You know what? Let me look it up. So what is a SAR? SAR.
Oh, SAR is good. That sounds cool.
SAR. Saudi Arabia. I think it's probably a Riyadh, honestly.
Yeah, I think it would be. Yeah.
But I'm looking it up. Currency. Okay, what is it? It is the Riyal, the Saudi Riyal, RIYAL is so he just said SAR, SAR.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so and then he pulls out his phone.
Do you guys have Venmo?
He pulls out his phone and he shows me where there is an ATM machine.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And this is not one in the hotel.
No. Yeah.
This isn't like, oh, you go right over there and you can get some. No.
Now here's where
quick question.
Yeah.
Your POC, your point of contact, they're gone at this point.
No, they're still in the van.
Perfect. Okay, good. So they haven't left you. They're making sure you're all right. All right, cool.
Yeah. Do you guys have anything you want to add at this point?
Well, I mean, it's at this point that I go out while you're still conversing with the guy. I go out and I'm like, I'm going to give them an update. So I go out to our POCs and I'm like, hey, just so you know, the credit card machine's down and they're saying to get an ATM or to go to an ATM.
And the POC, if we didn't say that, stands for point of contact.
Point of contact. And they said, no, you're not doing that.
So basically I come out and I say the same thing that Ben had just told them. And they basically said, you know, weird things happen over here when people go to the ATM. She said our sergeant, she basically looks at me and she goes, I would hate for your bank account to be empty tomorrow. And I was like, all right. You just got my attention.
I would also hate that.
Uh,
Wow.
and I was like, all right. And so the guy who's our driver goes, let me see if we can just find another place nearby. Now, I want to stop here. Mark, do you have any, because you're here and I want you to be able to share, do you have anything you want to throw in there as far as what your experience at this point, what you're thinking, what you have seen? Do you have any feedback you want to share?
So from my perspective, I'm just along for the ride, right? I'm not worried. I'm not thinking the show's about to get canceled. I'm not thinking, we got McDonald's in the car. I'm just ready to find a room and chow down on my, McDouble double or whatever I got.
Hey,
And
speaking of that, yeah, did you expect to find things like McDonald's over there in places like, these cities that you've never heard of before?
I'd say I knew that they were there, but I didn't realize like how, I mean, it was like a better menu. The employees all loved their job. Like everything felt hot and fresh. It was like a new McDonald's experience.
Yeah.
It was so good. Low key, it was so good.
And the
Yeah.
food tastes very similar to what we get over here. Pretty much the same.
Yeah. So honestly, I wasn't worried. Like, I mean, I trusted Jason. I knew we were gonna find a room. We had food in the car, and I was ready to find that next
So
stop.
just so I know, any doubt or stress that I had, you didn't feel it.
It was all you, buddy.
Okay, good.
I felt it. I
Okay.
felt it.
That's because
Well,
you know
and,
me
and
so
maybe
well.
yeah, maybe because I know you so well and I've done it enough that I'm like, this isn't normal.
Normal. Yeah.
This isn't how things normally go.
You know
We
what?
don't
Just for a second, explain what normally does happen.
normally you get picked up at the airport, you are driven to the base. Most of the time we're staying on base. And so we go there and they show us where we're staying. The end.
It's pretty straightforward. Yeah, you have to you basically
Here's where you're sleeping.
Yep.
Here's where the food is.
What
Do you
time
want to meet
tomorrow
a
are we
few
going to meet?
folks?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. If it's one of the occasions where we're staying off base, then it's like that. But they pick us up, they take us there, they say we'll see you tomorrow, and then that's it. So
Yeah, like if
anytime
we're
that there's
staying in a
any
hotel or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah. So anytime where there's this sudden like, hey, plans are changing and you guys are actually in charge of changing them.
Yeah, right. That's a little tricky. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
because it was, it was kind of uncharted territory. I mean, because normally the guests are staying on the base there. They're not used to having people stay off base and finding a hotel and stuff. This was kind of different.
And I think for me, one of the only things that I noticed was different, and this could be a translation thing, but none of the buildings that we were really finding in Alcarge were hotels. They were like apartments with rooms. And so I was like, oh, interesting. We're not necessarily staying at a Holiday Inn or whatever you said earlier. It's
Right.
like we're trying to find a room. So that was the only thing to me that was like, all right, this is different than what I'm used to.
Now, I mean,
Yep.
now if I had played the card of I just want to stay, we can stay at any hotel we want to. That's what they told me. So they just pick a hotel, stay wherever
Yeah.
you want. No
Yeah.
problem. We'll pay for it. If I had played the, egotistical entertainer and said, well, I'm going to find a 5-star resort
Four
right here in
Seasons, yeah.
Riyadh,
Right. Yeah.
I could have done that.
Yeah.
And this story would have been wildly different.
You might still be there.
So,
Yeah.
but yes.
So now
Okay.
you're back with the point of contact in the van. They say, we ain't taking you to no ATM. They say,
Right.
looking for another place. And
So basically the guy says, okay, I found one. It's just right around the corner. He drives for, I don't know, maybe 60 seconds at the most. And all of a sudden I'm like looking around and we're like in a sort of like a, it's, I don't want to call it a, go ahead.
The word you're looking for is an alley.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was basically an alley. I'm like looking around. I'm like,
it opened up a little more, but it was an alley. Remember, it was nighttime as well, so it's
Right.
dark,
It's
and
a little-
there weren't like lights. It was pretty dark.
Yeah.
So we're trying to find where to go in, and there's these two big doors, and we walk up to these two big giant doors, and they're locked. And I'm like, And then we're just kind of like looking around. I'm like, I don't know, nothing is labeled. And then some dude, and I don't even know where the guy came from. Some dude just rolls up on us, and we're like, oh, and we go hotel. So, and I think it was Mark. Mark's like, we're looking for a hotel, and he's just basically like, he points at this set of doors, and we're just like, all right, this set of doors, let's go in here. So we walk in and it's like Mark said, we find ourselves in a lobby of basically like an apartment building. It's not like a lobby that has like a
Not a
check-in desk.
lobby.
This is like the hallway of an apartment building.
Yeah. Okay.
And this guy, guess what? He doesn't speak English either. Now, I wasn't expecting him to at this point, because I'm just kind of like, I have my expectations, and I also don't expect everybody to speak English. But, we're like, hotel, we're trying to figure out. And then Mark has the pro move at this point. He busts out Google Translate.
That's very good. Of course. Yeah.
Yep. And so, like, all of a sudden,
You could communicate.
we're typing in Google Translate and showing the guy, and he's reading it, and then he's typing in his phone, showing us, and we're reading it. And so he gets some, he grabs some stuff from one of the rooms, and he motions for us to follow him, and we go upstairs to a couple floors up, and he opens up this door with a key card, and we walk in. It's this really big, multi-room, area. It has a bedroom, which has two beds. It has a large living space, which has two couches. It has a big bathroom. And you have to understand, it's nearing midnight at this point. We're tired,
Yeah.
and we're in a secondary city. Now, granted, I mean, we're in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, for the most part, very friendly with the United States. But I'm still kind of stressed out. I'm just like, okay, we're staying kind of in this. This looks very much, I mean, and I will say this, like, it was made, like, the beds were made, it was spotless. It was as clean as it could possibly, like, they couldn't have made this thing cleaner. Like, and that's what made me go, all right, I'm feeling pretty comfortable about this.
Yeah.
So we look around, and I'm like, yeah, this will work. And I'm like, we only want one room, because the only thing I can think about at this point, and I got to keep everybody together.
Yeah.
I don't.
That way, if something happens, you can push them in front of you, and you can bolt.
I just wanted the whole team together.
3 guesses who slept on the couch in front of the door.
Yeah.
Probably the guy who said 3 guesses.
Yeah.
3 guesses, and the first 2 don't count.
Yeah.
No, you were the new guy. You were the rookie on this thing. So you get front door privileges, Mark.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, now here's the thing about this. Like, when you go on these tours, one of the things that you have to do, you can't even go on the tour without taking an online anti-terrorism training, which teaches you about things like the right, what floor to stay on in hotels. It teaches you all sorts of different things. So at this point, I've got all this, and I've taken these anti-terrorism trainings over and over and over again.
After you go through that training, you're basically Jack Ryan.
Yeah, you basically like look at everything as a threat. You're just like, everything is a threat. And that's where my head is at this point. I'm thinking about everything as a threat. So I'm just thinking about security. And so I'm like, we're all staying in this one room. So we get the room, we run downstairs, we get the bags, we tell them, we're like, we're good, we're set. And they're like, all right, we will pick you up. No, they say, we will contact you first thing in the morning, because we have a meeting first thing in the morning. And so we get our bags, they take off, we go up to the room, we lock ourselves in. All right. Do you guys want to add anything to the color commentary of this at this point?
Well, I just remember the second, because it took a while to actually get situated, because they insisted on bringing another mattress for us.
Wow.
And extra blankets and pillows and stuff. And they brought all our bags up. Like, they were actually very, very happy to have us. And
they took credit cards, Jason?
They did take credit cards.
Yeah.
Fortunately, they didn't get charged for more than what I was supposed to. So,
before the door opened up and we saw the room, we're still kind of going like, where are we? Like, what is going on? And the room key was just a blank room key. It was white, with the room number written in Sharpie. It was like smudged out. Like at one time it said a number. And we're just, but then I think we were all kind of shocked when the door opened, and we're like, oh my gosh, it's like beautiful room, like impeccably clean. But it took a little bit to kind of get settled because they brought extra stuff up and everything like that. And then I just remember when after we really closed the door and it was just us and it was over, we all just kind of looked at each other and just like, what is going on? Like, what are we going through right now?
Exactly. Mark,
Because
what was your take? Go ahead. But you go ahead, Ben. You can finish your
well,
thought.
what I was just gonna, the last thing I was gonna say is that it's it's like we sort of there was some anxiety about getting situated and being safe, but there was also this like looming like something's going on, like
Yeah, there was definitely
besides
kind
just
of like
us
a
staying off
weird vibe.
base.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there was like an
yeah, like
energy, like, something's
yeah,
interesting's happening.
yeah, yep.
Yeah, for me, so I was on the couch and I noticed there was a window next to me. And so I was, a little worried with the window. And so I pulled the curtain back, but then I saw that there were jail cell bars. The window was barred. So I felt much safer when I saw that no one could crawl through because of the barred window.
Yeah, which means we're also not going to crawl through
I
either.
started to
So
say,
We,
yes,
we ain't getting
you
that.
can check in, but you can't check out.
exactly. So at this point, Mark's just chilling, still has no stress level, and I'm just like, my stress level is high. So anyway, no, but so we ate our food and we just kind of settled in, and it was just basic. And then I started rearranging furniture and taking furniture and putting it in front of the door because I'm just like, all right, if
Wow.
anybody tries to get in here, I want to know about it. And and then we all just basically crashed out. I was solid asleep. And I mean I was solid asleep, like hard asleep, maybe for 30 minutes. I don't know. Ben was sleeping in the bed on the other bed next to me. So I don't know how long I was up, but I'm guessing it was 30 minutes of hard sleep. And then I did straight
We
up.
heard every minute.
And that's another thing you get to experience when you go on tour is you get to experience all the snoring.
Yeah.
You were asleep long enough for me to fall asleep before you woke up again.
And then I woke up and I came out of a dead sleep, and every terrorist movie I've ever seen in my life where Americans have been held hostage starts playing. And I start thinking about all the things that can go wrong. And I'm thinking to myself, well, what happens if a fire starts? And then I realize, well, wait a minute. What if something does go wrong? Because there ain't no 911. I can't call emergency. Even if there is, I don't know how to call emergency services over here. I have no idea how to do that. And then I'm thinking, well, do I contact the people at the base? And I'm like, they're going to be asleep. And then I'm like, do I contact Armed Forces Entertainment? And I'm then thinking, he's going to contact the same people that I'm going to contact. And I'm just like, what are we going to do? So at the end of the day, I start like every time there's a noise, I'm like sitting up in bed, looking at the front door, just kind of freaking out. I probably for 30 solid minutes, I was just like, I guess I'm not going
You
to
got
sleep.
yourself all worked up.
Yep. And then at some point, I just kind of said to myself, I had two thoughts. The first thought was, dude, this is Saudi Arabia.
Right.
This isn't another. These people, for the most part, are cool with us. Um, and then my personal, just my own faith. I just started thinking about what it says in the Bible, where it talks about that God uses all things for His glory, and I just said, you know what? Whatever happens, happens. It'll be to God's glory. We'll be okay. It's going to work out just fine. And I just calmed myself down and I went to sleep.
Yep.
And I slept the rest of the night. Woke up.
But you went to sleep, you started snoring, the guys were up all night long.
And woke up the next morning and my phone had been just gone crazy.
Oh no, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're getting into more. Okay, all right.
So I wake up the next morning and I see a message from my mom that's like, "Hey, how are y'all doing considering everything that's going on?" And then I'm like, "Okay, what the heck is that about?" And then I have an email from a text message from Armed Forces Entertainment that says, "It doesn't matter what time of day you wake up, call me immediately." And I'm like, and then I see a notification, and it's like an Apple notification, and it says Israel bombs Iran or attacks Iran, and I'm like, "Oh no, that is not good."
Yeah.
And And so I hop on the phone and I talk to my guy and he's like, we got to get you guys out of there because look like things are really heating up. And they're telling everybody in the military that has like family that aren't in the military in the
Yep.
area, they're telling them to send their family home. They're saying, they're telling the folks who are at the embassies, they're saying non-essential personnel, get out of the area and we need to get you guys home. And so, um, I'm on my phone and I'm trying to find and the stress is because with all these people exiting, it's
Yeah.
like we have to get flights and we have to get them quick.
Yep. And everybody else is trying to do the same thing. Yeah.
Exactly. So initially I'm trying to do it on my phone and my phone is just like it's taken forever to go through the process. You have to put all the personal details in for each of the passengers. And by the time I get to buy it, they're like, oh, these tickets aren't available anymore. And so finally I'm able to, I think Ben hot spotted his phone and I got on a computer and I bought tickets and it was a very easy process. And I was like, this plane is empty. This is awesome. And then I bought the tickets and then and I told Armed Force Entertainment we're all set. And then I looked at the tickets again and I had bought tickets for a week from then. And I was like, oh crap. And then I was like, oh, what am I going to do? So I get back on the computer and I'm like, I'll just buy more tickets. I'll deal with canceling those later. So I try to buy more tickets and now my credit card won't allow me to buy any more tickets.
It thinks you're doing
because it
fraud.
thinks I'm doing fraudulent, like my credit card's been stolen. And then finally I'm like, okay, maybe I can just change our flight. So we end up figuring out how to change our flight and we got flights for 11:55 that night. Now it's like 9 o'clock in the morning.
Wow. So you got a whole day you can go enjoy
alcohols
or go to Riyadh early, go to a spa, something like that. Go to McDonald's again.
Yeah, we did.
We did.
Say less.
And let's loop Mark into the conversation. What were you thinking around this time? Oh wait, sorry. What were you dreaming about?
Yeah, because Mark
apparently Mark was out
asleep.
I was in a sweet place at that time. Not a care in the world.
I think the only thing I remember going out and being like, "Where's your passport?" And you're like, "Huh?" I'm like, "Your passport? Where's your passport? Passport?" And you're like, "Oh, it's in my bag." And then you're like, just turned over and went back to sleep. It was a good move.
Meanwhile, I also woke up to, "Where's your passport?" and I reach over and I grab it and I hand it to you, and then I'm just like, "We're going home, huh?" and he's just like, "Check your phone, like look up the news." Okay, and then I was wide awake.
Yeah.
Also, my phone had been blowing up from my mom texting me and friends texting, and it's wild.
So then I get a text message from the base, and it's a completely different person, and it's somebody higher up on the base, and this person's like, "Hey, our threat level has gone up again." Which like in 24 hours it went up twice, which is
that's significant.
Yeah, it's significant. And can you call me? So I call this person and she's very nice and she's like, "Yeah, so we're confined to the base. Do you guys think you can find a ride to the airport?" And I was like, "Huh?
Wow.
What did you say? Find a ride to the airport?" I was like, and I was just like, like, how am I going to find? I'm 2 hours away from the airport, and everybody I've talked to in this entire area, nobody speaks English, and I don't have any like Saudi Arabian riyal. I don't have any money. I got dollars, but I'm like, how am I going to find something? So I was as in the nicest way possible. I was like, "I'm sorry, I cannot find anybody to take us to the airport. We need you to take us to the airport." And so she was like, "No problem. But we have to get the base commander has to give us permission to come and get you."
Sure.
So like it went up to the top. And so to make a long story short, they come and pick us up. They take us to McDonald's. And then they take us to the airport. Now we get to the airport about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm just like, "Man, please let us check in early," because I had looked on the website and they said, "Oh yeah, you can check your bags as far as 24 hours in advance." And I was like, "Sweet." Of course, that's not accurate. When you actually get to the airport, they don't let you do that at all. I was like, hey, where can we check in for Turkish Airlines? And they're like, you can check in 5 hours. And I was like, oh. So we sit around the airport. Now, at this point, I still have all this stuff going in my head about all
Right.
the anti-terrorism training I've done. And I'm seeing people who have a bag. There's a bag that's been sitting there for 20 minutes without anybody nearby it. And I'm like, guys, get up. We got to get up. We got to move. And then we go move somewhere else. We sit there for an hour and a half. And then there's another bag that's been sitting there for 30 minutes, and I literally saw the person walk away and hasn't come back. I'm like, guys, we got to move. So I just keep like moving my poor guys. They're trying to, because of course, did anything happen? Of course not. But all I can think about is this heightened threat assessment. And, we're Americans, and we're in a part of the world where there are heightened tensions. And I'm just like thinking, golly, we just have to be as vigilant as we possibly can be. And so basically we wait until we're able to check in. I'm stressed the entire time about them canceling our flight, because there were two flights that were scheduled to go to Amman, Jordan, that had been canceled. That I'm just looking at the board and they're canceled. And I'm like, oh my gosh, because at this point, here's the one thing is going to happen. Israel has struck Iran. For a fact that the next day Iran is going to do something to Israel. I mean, that's just how these things always play out. And all I'm thinking of is, are they going to cancel? Are they going to cancel this flight? Because based on where we are, based on where Saudi Arabia is, and based on where Israel is, and based on where Iran is, I'm looking at the whole thing and I'm thinking to myself, we would literally be flying right through there.
Or they have to,
or they have to do something different. Right. So anyway, I'm stressed out the entire time, and we finally get to check in, and then we go eat the single greatest pizza. I'm telling you, guys, weigh in on this.
Was the pizza good, Mark?
Oh, stellar. Stellar.
What kind of pizza was it?
Well, the appetizer we got, what was it? It was like, well, I'll say this: they got salads. I got I got a mountain of French fry potatoes covered in nacho cheese, jalapenos, bacon, like you name it, and it was on top of that. That was amazing. And then the pizza, we did like a spicy barbecue pizza, yeah?
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
So if you're ever in the Riyadh airport and you get through, I think it's Terminal 4, and you get through security, there's a great pizza place, and you should definitely
Today's
spend the money.
Brought to you by the pizza place in Terminal 4 at the Riyadh Airport, Saudi Arabia.
Yeah,
they had a great playlist too. They
did.
They were not playing. We won't tell them all the juicy details, but they were not playing the corporate approved playlist. They were playing a playlist strictly of Akon, just Akon. Any song he's ever been in, and anyone who knows every song he's ever been in, yes, it played.
It was awesome. So then we get to our gate. We wait a couple more hours. We see the flight land. We see our flight crew get on board, at which point we're all kind of taking like a breath, because we're like, okay, this thing is going to happen. We get on board, and the only thing I'm thinking at this point is, as long as we land, this flight was from Riyadh to Istanbul, and the only thing I'm thinking to myself, as long as we land in Istanbul, I don't care. Like, if this whole thing falls apart and we had to stay in Istanbul for a couple days, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So, but that was that lands in Istanbul. We catch our flight to JFK.
Not Constantinople.
Not Constantinople. Is this like, am I on National Treasure right now? Are we doing a Nicolas Cage movie?
Yeah. You of all people could pull that off.
Yeah, exactly. And then we catch our flight to JFK, and then we make our way we all make our way home. It was a wild experience.
And we did some magic.
We did do some magic. We did pull off some magic. And I mean, it was, I've done a lot of these tours, and so have you guys, and Mark has done half of one now. but they always go to plan for the most part. And this was the first time that it just really went haywire
Yeah.
because of current events and things that are happening. And I guess that just kind of points out the fact that, you know, if you've ever done one of these tours, and I know there are plenty of folks who have done tours that didn't go with me. I know, you know, there've been different folks that have taken groups. And I mean, the work that you do trying to spread joy and laughter and the experience of amazement and to share a sense of home with these folks is important. We always expect it to go well, but you know there are occasions where you find yourself in extraordinary circumstances, and it also just goes to show the fact that the you know, by sharing some entertainment, you know, these folks are literally in harm's way. You know,
Yeah.
as
Well,
a
you know,
yeah
this tour and this experience you guys have had is kind of like the reason why these tours exist,
yeah
right? It's exactly because they're having to deal with, you guys got to come home, right? And they made you come home, right? You didn't have a choice.
right
Um, they had to stay there
yep
and do their thing at at an even higher level, right? You know, you said the base went up.
yeah,
Uh,
and it's gone up. I've heard, yeah, it's gone up again.
Security issue, you know,
It's at the maximum that it
yeah,
can
the
be now.
level's at the maximum. And so now those folks, not only do they not get the magic show they were hoping to see that night, get to chill out and step away from reality for a little while, but now they are thrust into what they're having to deal with. And I'm thrilled that you have that quality of people with that level of training there available to do that work when it needs to be done. But it just speaks to the importance of AFE and other organizations that bring entertainment and that kind of thing to those folks who are overseas or who are at those bases when they don't, there's not going to be another way they're going to have that kind of experience. So, I
Yeah.
mean, it absolutely sucks that you guys, you know, that the tour was cut short. It sucks for you guys, but it sucks more for the people that didn't get to see you, right? That didn't get to have that experience. But again, that's the reason why these tours exist, is because they don't get to have that experience nearly as much as they should. So,
Yeah, it
Absolutely.
was
And
cool. Of the even the few shows that we did get to do, you know, I made connections with these people on base and connected with some of them on social media. And when I got home, I posted a video of seeing my daughter, you know, for the first time after being gone for a week and a half. And even a couple of the people on base responded to that, and they were like, "Man, I can't wait for this feeling. Like, thanks for sharing this."
yeah,
And so, even connecting afterwards has just been really, really cool.
yeah, that's great.
that is great. And you know, I talked to my Armed Forces Entertainment guy, and he told me, he said the bases were very upset that you weren't able to go. Like according to him, they were very excited about this show.
Yeah,
So I mean, it's a bummer from many people's perspective that we didn't get to share what we were there to share. Just understand that the folks who do these things, whether it's magic show tours or, you know, they send a lot of different types of folks. They send MMA fighters and pro athletes and stuff like that. Anytime they do something like this, it is important work. It accomplishes a couple of things. It improves morale. It reminds them that there are people at home who genuinely care, even if they will never meet those people. And so it's important work that Ben and Mark were willing to go do, and I appreciate them joining me. Do you guys have any last thoughts you wanted to share about just the whole thing, just in general?
No, I really like what Scott said at the end about how we got to come home, but they don't.
Yeah.
So for just it's good for everyone to remember that.
All right, Scott.
thank you guys. It's a fascinating story, entertaining one. Again, I hate that the tour was cut short, but you do have a heck of a story, and certainly, you know, that's the other thing, Jason. Right? You always talk about this. There's going to be another. There's going to be. This is not your last tour. There's going to be another one. There's going to be other opportunities to go over and to hopefully perform for those bases and those people. Um, so yeah, I mean, just to that end, Jason, personally want to say thank you for the opportunities you've given me to go do that, because that's an experience. When I started doing magic when I was 11, I was just happy that my dove pan worked at the latest birthday party that I was performing at. Little did I know that, a handful of years later, thanks to my relationships in this wonderful art of magic, I have the opportunity to go around the world and to have that kind of experience. So I think it's awesome what you do, and Mark and Ben, the fact that you guys are willing to do that work. It is fun. It's an incredible experience, but there are other things you could be doing too. And so at any rate, appreciate it. And Jason, thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, you know what? You just reminded me, and I know we need to wrap up, but you just reminded me, and I just want to throw out some love to some folks who have done this in the past. Oscar Munoz has been on tour with us, Bob Sheets, Christian and Catalina, Stephen Bargatze, Michael Finney, Nathan Comarsh, Jessica Jane Peterson. Cameron Zavara. There was an entire team, including dancers and whatnot, and a technical team that have been on a couple of tours. And big thank you to everybody who has done this, who has taken time away from their homes and their loved ones to share their love of entertainment and their appreciation for these important people. And just a big thank you to everyone who has supported us. Armed Forces Entertainment does incredible work. They do incredible work. What they do is very important to the mental health and the resiliency of the men and women and the families that are in these different places. So big thanks to all of them. So any final thoughts? Anybody have anything else, or are we going to wrap it up?
That's a good note to go out on, buddy.
All right, I hear you.
Yeah, thanks for letting me be a part of the tour, and thanks for letting me be on the podcast.
Yep.
Well, yeah.
Come back
absolutely.
anytime, Mark.
You did a great job.
Bring McDonald's or pizza with you.
Well, on behalf of my co-host and our guest, my name is Jason Michaels. For Ben Young, for Mark Brown, for Scott Cantrell, we appreciate you listening. If you want to learn more about the International Brotherhood of Magicians, check out their website, magician.org. That is magician.org. Just a few more days before the I.B.M. convention, and if you want to get the details and join all of us there, ibmconvention.com. You guys have a great rest of the day. Take care of yourselves. Peace.